Hello everyone, this is CJNovo992 and today we're back for another brand new video and we're back already with another upload as it's getting a bit hot out here when it comes to Rangers' next manager. There's rumours coming here, there and everywhere. Everyone's pretending to have a scoop, everyone's pretending to know someone who knew someone who was cousins with someone whose stepsister walked by someone once on the street who's told them who the next Rangers manager is. So let's pull in everything, troops, let's pull it in and focus in on what we know and look at yet another Rangers managerial candidate. We've already looked at two previously. Lampard, who in my opinion was the marketing team's choice for next Rangers manager. We then had Kevin Muscat uploaded yesterday, who in my opinion is probably the fans' pick for next Rangers manager. Well, now it's time to turn our attentions to Philippe Clement, who in my opinion is Rangers' pick as next Rangers manager. Now, before we do get lost in it or anything like that, I know what he's like in terms of my uploads and everything. I am not confirming this man is going to definitely be the next Rangers manager. All I can tell you is what I think, and I think that is the man that Rangers actually want to be the next gaffer. But there's interviews, there's talks, there's stuff. Stuff can go wrong. It could go completely a different way than what we've actually expected. It would probably be the most Rangers thing of all time, if I'm honest, to fumble the potential two that we've got within our grasp. But aye, we're here to talk about Philippe Clement. We're going to look at the good, the bad and the Belgian with everything you need to know, so you leave today's video hopefully knowing just a little bit more about the potential next Rangers manager. If you do find yourself enjoying the channel anytime, please consider hitting that like button or hitting that subscription button. But aye, let's go ahead and talk about potentially the next gaffer. And it's interesting because all three candidates that we've actually spoken about right here on the channel all share something in common, and that's the fact that they're former football players, troops. Lampard was obviously a phenomenal football player, Muscat was a dangerous footballer, and Claymont was probably in between the two of them, with a player who had, in his own words, averaging ability that probably overachieved, but he worked his arse off all his days to turn what talent he had into the fantastic career he ended up having, where he shied just off 40 international caps for Belgium and won plenty of trophies as player. But we're not here to talk about them as players. We're not here to review them as players. We're here to look at them as managers. So putting that to one side, what is Philippe Clement actually bringing to the table? What's the lad got in his locker? Well, starting the video off the way we've started all the other ones by looking at maybe the 3 bullet points you need to know about the potential next gaffer. The first one being is his most obvious asset that this man has actually got, which is interesting because some of you may see this as actually a fault, so stay with me for the next couple of minutes. But the big thing you need to know about this laddie is he is tactically flexible, troops. Where the previous two have kind of been narrowed in and had plan A and plan B is today plan A better, this lad has plan B, C, D, E, F and G. He does and changes his team a lot dependent on the opponent's weakness and his actual strengths, which shows he is a very, very detail-oriented style manager, and he does tweak and he does change things to really try and exploit the opposition's weaknesses, and he's done that all the way through his career at every single club that he's actually managed. Now, it is thankfully an attacking style. It's not really let's play 5 at the back, let's play this, this and this. It's always to try and exploit their weakness. Where can I put another body that's going to be hurting it? It's attacking changes each and every single time. However, there is a sharp contrast in terms of tempo regarding Kevin Muscat's potential Rangers side and Kevin Muscat's career so far and Claymont. So it's not the exact same. If you're wanting the frantic pace, the breathing non-stop pace that maybe a Kevin Muscat will bring, that is not the same as what Claymont will bring to the table. No, he's a different styling manager. He's got a bit more of a prettier style on the eye. It does like to be zipped about, but again, the objective is to score goals in football. And if you look at this man's managerial career, his teams have scored goals for fun. My only slight concern is Clement's never had to face the part the bus sides of Scottish football, the ones who aren't interested in playing football. And it is something that's maybe in my mind since Gio was obviously here, because he couldn't figure out that teams in this league didn't want to play football. Do you know what I mean? It was like waiting for them to come out so we could pass round them, but they never came out and we just seemed to drop points and drop points and drop points. Clement's never faced the likes of that. I'm just hopeful if he is the next Rangers manager, he learns from the mistakes of the Giovanni Van Bronckhorst and noticing that there's teams in this league who aren't interested in playing football, so you need to make sure you're the one that's attacking non-stop to really get after it. But aye, I'm hopeful that he's able to adjust to that and learn it very quickly. But one of the things I have noticed from a lot of your comments and a lot of the conversation that's around the place right now is about this tactical flexibility. That's where you guys are nervous. It's not about the potential playstyle that he's not played in, like what makes me nervous. It is this tactical flexibility, the fact that he's not got a nailed down formation week in and week out. Some of you are saying, if we can't find consistency off the park, how are we going to find consistency on the park? Is it going to be a mess? Are we never going to have a settled? And I do think a lot of that is maybe just a little bit too hysteria, because the way I actually see it is, yes, he does change and tweak his formation depending on the opponent, but let's be brutally honest, between us, Scottish football has a lot of teams that play the exact same way. I'm not saying he's going to be looking at Livy, changing it from week to week to Killian and St Johnson and da-da-da-da-da-da. Nah, I'm sure there will be a way or a style of play to play against them, then maybe tweaks and changes for the likes of Celtic, and a lot of tweaks and changes in European football where the man has got experience, has some good highs and some great performances, whilst also some mistakes that he's learned from over his time as manager. So that's where I feel like the tweaks and changes will come. The higher levels, the Celtics, the European football especially, that's where I can see his tactical flexibility coming in to play. For those worrying that it's going to be constantly changing every week, I didn't see that being quite the case. So that's one talking point. Moving away from that talking point, we have the younger players debate once again, as this man has shown throughout his career that when he goes in to a football club, that he will give everyone a chance to grab a shirt to go ahead and play with. And that might surprise a lot of people, and I don't know if it's because of the big bald head and the look and the stare that he's got, but there seems to be a lot of people that think this guy's an absolute arse kicker who's going to come in and start beating people up and throwing boots, kicking boots at faces like Sir Alex and everything like that. It might just be because we're basing it on the guy's exterior and obviously what he's done in his playing career. But for everything I've been able to find, from former players to managers to assistant managers to coaches to people that worked in the building, they've all got the same thing to say about this lad. He is very, very interested in the players' lives. He likes to try and get to know the players. He's a great manager on that aspect, and he does give everybody an opportunity to impress them. However, where some of you might start to worry, saying, oh no, we've got another people pleaser like Bale who's not going to put the FIP down. No, troops, he gives everybody an opportunity, and if you take it, he will defend you in the press, he will defend you to everybody, he will have your back to the hilt and come out swinging against anybody. But if you take the mick, troops, if you didn't perform, if you start being disrespectful, if he doesn't think you're giving 100%, that switch from good guy turns very quickly, and then maybe the feelings and thoughts that we have got about him being as harsh on a drill sergeant starts to come into play. As he's shown in his career, some established players haven't been performing, have been down in tools, maybe flirting with other teams. Doesn't matter if you're a key player, and we'll speak about that later when we get to his Club Brugge days. Even if you're a key player and you start looking around, you're not all in, he will drop you from everywhere and put in a young laddie, bring in somebody else and give them an opportunity, or again change his entire style to move away from you. So there's the actual truth about the laddie. He's not a stone-faced Gattuso or a Musket who's going to get in people's faces and demand it for day one. He'll go in there, he'll try to build relationship, he will try to build trust, he will try to build a connection, and if you take it, good, he'll have your back to the hilt. But if you start down tooling, if you start sleepwalking through games, he will remove you, and that is something that does excite me, and I do think needs to be aligned, because it is great to think someone's going to come in and just kick arses and everything like that, but Paul Le Guen tried that, troops, dropping the likes of Ferguson. There was a revolt, it all went horribly wrong. I do think there needs to be a balance in that, and for me, for everything I've been able to find about Big Phil, if you will, he certainly has that backing, and every player seems to have a very good thing to say about him. He's very fair on that aspect, and obviously the younger players' development as well is something we'll need to look at, because he's not a manager who will come in and want this guy for new signing and this guy and this guy and this guy and no pay attention to what's in the building. In fact, this might scare a lot of you. He's not really interested in the agents and the going out and signing players left, right and centre. That's never been his game. He sort of allows his sporting director to go out and speak to agents, and then he brings it to him. Then he'll have his say if he wants some or no, but his focus is what's on the building and getting the best out what's in the building right there, and he's shown that throughout his career, bringing on and developing younger players, giving them opportunities. So I don't know where you'll sit with that, but he's not a checkbook manager that wants all his own players. If there's younger players in there, he'll look and he'll give them a chance. And the third and final bullet point that you really need to know about the next potential Rangers manager is a simple one, troops, and it's one that we all wanted to hear. This man is a winner, where he goes, there's usually some winning involved and silverware involved, because out of everyone we've looked at so far, even the impressive Kevin Muscat, Big Phil has won more. In fact, he's won back-to-back league titles in Belgium for 2 different clubs. That's absurd to actually do that. To win something at one club and then go to another club and win back-to-back titles with a different one is sensational. He's won cups. In fact, he's not got any space in his mantle anymore for managerial awards either, troops, as he's collected them on his horizon. He's a guy who wins, and where he goes, he transforms them and they become a completely different side than when he went in. And as we start to break down his club career year upon year and what he's managed to do, you'll hear more about that. So if you're interested, you'll hear about that in the next couple of minutes. But just in case you don't have time to watch all of the video, there's your bullet points, troops. He's a tactically flexible manager. He's a guy who will give youth a chance and not afraid to drop big players if they aren't performing or they've lost his trust. And he is a serial winner. Now, let's go ahead and talk about that winning then, shall we? He started his managerial career, as you expect, in Belgium, troop, as he worked his way up from Club Brugge, a team that he would then go on to manage to a great success. But he worked his way up from there, assistant manager, even caretaker manager very early on in his career, but it was an extremely short stint. It was just to hold the keys to somebody else, come in, very similar to Stephen Davis. His first managerial career was in Belgium just shortly after that, as he took over SV Berven. Now, I'm not confident at all that I've pronounced that properly, troops, but I've used Google Translate and that's what it told me. But you might be thinking to yourself, I've never heard of them, so I'm not expecting too much, and that's probably fair. However, what you would say about Clement's time there is he went into a team that not a lot of people was expecting anything from, but again, injected his attacking style, started to score goals, started punching well above their weight, especially against Genk, troop, having great game after great game, the free draw, working them out, figuring them out, and then in the cup quarter final, it finished 7-5 to Genk. But again, his team was punching well above their weight, and if it wasn't for a couple questionable decisions, they might have ended up winning that game right then and there. And it's no surprise to me that when Genk wasn't having the league season they actually wanted, when they wanted to make a change, sitting 10th in the league, who was the man that they looked at to bring back success? It was the guy that he was playing against or managing and seeing in the league starting to build his reputation, as Claymont was snapped up like that after just 22 games in his first managerial season, having impressed with his style of play and again his willingness to attack teams. But for the OCD out there, if you want the stats, he managed 22 games during that time, winning 9, drawing 4 and losing 9, which again isn't the best stats on paper, but that's why stats didn't tell you everything, troops. He won plaudits, he was winning some real reputation, he was building himself up in the football world, and Genk said, aye, he's the one we need to transform us into what we want to be and we were previously in the past. And that's exactly what happened. Joining in December, got them cooking, started implementing his style, starting to twist and change, drop a couple of players, bring in a couple youth players, and in his first full season as manager for Genk, he took a team that he joined when they were 10th and took them all the way to the league title, which is very, very impressive in such a short period of time. Winning that for the first time since 2011, winning from a team again that was on the decline. Such a sharp contrast in where they were headed to where they went. It was a sensational season and a half under Claymont, and aye, that's when the real reputation of the man really started to build and people started to notice. And aye, so did neighbours of Belgium side Club Brugge start to notice, because they had a great season, yet they still lost the league. They finished in second and says, we've got enough in here, we need the missing ingredient, and that ingredient was a top manager who could turn ugly games into 3 points. In the 82 games that he managed as Genk manager, he won 47 of them, he drew 20 and he lost just 15 games, on his way to again getting Club Brugge coming over and saying, aye, we need you to win us a title, we're sick of losing games against you. And that's exactly what happened. But before we go there, I want to speak about Genk very briefly, because we mentioned it earlier in the video. They lost one of their key players and maybe best performing player in January, and everyone, you can still see the news reports if you search it, start to say, is this going to derail Genk's fairy tale season? But again, a credit to the man, he lost his best out and out player, but he just replaced it by bringing in some young players, changing the formation just a little bit. Instead of being built around him, he changed it on the fly and still went on to be a success. That there is great managing. That's rolling with the punches. That's not just having a plan A. When things went wrong, when he lost his best player, he adjusted, gave a couple young players a chance, gave other people that was out in the cold a chance, and built a team that was able to keep winning and win them that league title. But over to Club Brugge, again this team that finished second to his team Genk, and he was the missing ingredient and turned them into winners right away with an absolute incredible campaign. Genuinely, it was vicious for Club Brugge. Like that, they changed completely and became a lot more attacking, scored a lot more goals than the year before. That's what stopped them from winning the title the year before, but it's goals that wins you game, and his play style certainly brings it. Now, they did play 29 games before COVID ended the season early, but if you look at it, he won 21 of them, drew 7 of them, and lost just 1. He had a 25-point lead when the season was finished early. So I think you can hold your hand up and say they'd have won that title at a canter, and they showed that next again year, as they certainly had a point to prove, as there was a couple whispers, there was a couple complaints. Well, they came out and just absolutely ran away with it the year later as well, with another phenomenal campaign in which they won 24 of their 34 league games played. Back to back to back league titles. Great European nights sprinkled in there, some great cup runs, some great games and some great goals in his way of managing a total of 131 games during that period before Monaco came calling, in which he won 74 of the 131, in which he had 34 draws during that period and 26 losses during that period. But it's the 256 goals that he scored right there, people. It was vicious, it was attacking, it's everything we've been lacking for so long. And his career, his trajectory, it was going up, up, up. Every test, every question, every objective, smash, smash, smash. Belgian Cups, Super Cups, whatever he wanted, he was winning what he needed to win. It was gone. He went to Monaco, and then it started to go a little bit wrong. And his Monaco time is worth a little look at, troops, and does have to be considered a failure, because it's his first time in his managerial career that he didn't tick the objectives that was asked of him. But it didn't start off that way. In fact, he joined mid-season to Monaco, and they transformed again, winning 9 of their opening 10 matches with only 1 draw in there. They were beating the likes of PSG twice during that time, and again they were built like the aliens for Space Jam. He was able to nullify them and hurt them and identify that they're weak at the back, so let's go after them, let's attack them. He was the only team that was really punching for punch, blow for PSG, that was willing to battle that team. But then the summer came calling, and they lost several players, one of them to Real Madrid, and it just looked weak on paper, yet the expectations were still there because of the success that he brought. He lost so many good players, so many big players, and what he brought in, or what he was allowed to bring in, weren't exactly like for like replacements. And despite being in the top 4 for the majority of the season, which again was the objective, he did lose 5 of his last 7 matches. There was rumblings, there was newspapers, there was discussions that there's a riff in the changing room, the players aren't happy, blah blah blah. It kind of down-tooled, and for there, the man lost his job. Meaning his Monaco managerial career ended after 73 games, in which he had 37 wins, 15 draws and 21 losses to his name. And troops, that is it. That is where it leaves us to go on right now. Cups after cup. I mean, if you include his assistant coaches and assistant time at clubs, this man has won cups pretty much everywhere he's actually been. He's been a success, he is translated, but the Monaco thing just never worked out. But where that could be a blessing in disguise, because if it does work out there, if he does translate them, if he keeps going, he's no coming to Scottish football after the hot start of his career that he's actually had. Again, he has got aspirations and dreams of playing in the Premier League. Saudi clubs, he's already rejected Saudi money once. There's already another club at his door. He is a manager that is very well respected and very well thought of, but because it didn't quite work out, whatever happened behind the scenes at Monaco, who seem to be one of those weird clubs where they injected loads of money, then the chairman fell out, and then the chairman fell out. There seems to be a mess that's actually going on with that club right now, but because he failed there, troops, it does give us an opportunity to get a manager that we wouldn't have been able to get previously, and that's why I think the Rangers board will want Claymont and will try to get everyone. Now again, will Big Phil come up here and agree to sign that? That's another thing. He's already rejected the Saudi money, they're already in his ear already, so he is looking for the right project. He's no followed by money. He's no chasing money. He wants the right project to get him back on track and show what he's got. And if I'm honest, ladies and gentlemen, considering the way he puts himself about his business with Club Brugge and Genk and what he's been willing to do, I'd love him to come up the road, because everything I've seen so far is he'd be able to change the culture in this football club, mend relationships where it needed to, end relationships where it needed to, and invest and bring in the youth players in that as well. But that is it for the old managerial searches right there. That is it for the third and possibly final Rangers rumour. That is Claymont, that is Muscat. Lampard's already out of the decision. Now I hand the reins over to you guys. I want to know your thoughts and opinions on this one. Now you know everything you need to know about the two main contenders. I know there's one rumoured about the press, but he's only there just in case the lot didn't work out. I want to know who you want down in the comment section below. Again, I feel like it will be Claymont, but there just seems to be something in the back of my head. I would love that playstyle that Muscat's got, because I know and I've seen it being a success in this club. I'm just a little bit nervous that it doesn't translate to Clement's time, because again, he's never faced what we face in Scottish football. But again, it's all ifs, buts and maybes. We've been right, we've been wrong. That's the way it is as a football fan. We obviously won't impact this decision anyway, but I would love to know what your opinions are down in the comment section below. Claymont or Muscat, who you want and why? Let me know down in the comment section below. And as always, I've been Season 92. Thank you so much for watching, and bye-bye.